Welcome to the Chess Free app. Very excited. Just got the computer level 12, which is the hardest possible level on this game, to resign. Sorry, I'll show the board here. I'd moved a castle to this. I'm going to walk through the moves. All right, we're going to walk through the game here. We start off playing as white. I just played knight to f3. Simple enough. Move number 2. They move their pawn forward. Okay, I move my pawn forward. They move their pawn forward here. This is where I decide to change it up a little bit. I had a tendency to play the pawn, the e2 pawn. Instead, as you can see, I'll go back here. I move the pawn on the c2 to c4 with the idea of moving the bishop later, potentially. It doesn't work out that way. What really surprised me is I'm usually, to beat a computer, I'm able to overload so I can shift everything. In this game was nothing like that. I was able to find something and stay balanced for a long time. So there's a pawn forward here. I move a pawn forward. Usually against a computer opponent this good, I'm not ever winning out of this formation, which really... I was able to find a move here. Now, I will show you a few moves down. They play a knight right there. Okay. I just develop a piece. They move this piece right here. I thought this over for a little while. I decided to... since this piece is overloaded, and I'm referring to the piece on c4, the pawn on c4, there's 2 attackers, only 1 defender. I decided to move an extra defender, so we got 2 and kind of leave it open-ended. So I just play the pawn forward there. They move the pawn there to develop a bishop. I decide to move a bishop here. And this actually... I don't know. I mean, when you're playing against AI, they're going to attack your weak spot. I'm just trying to be balanced here. But having this piece in this spot didn't really help. I was able to figure out a way around that anyway, but probably not the best development move there. That's a good development move because that's taking away a lot of stuff. And like I said, when you're playing against the AI on 12, I think it's ELO 2100, but they pick you apart all day long. So you have to really think into what they're doing. And sometimes they're reacting to your move. They're either attacking and breaking apart your position, or they're reacting to your move. You typically want them reacting to your move, not attacking your position. But they always tend to outthink you. So this is tricky here. Just trying to stay balanced. I played a pawn there, nothing big. Just trying to develop some pieces and, maybe find some stuff. They push the pawn here. This is kind of where I get the idea. And, well, I don't get the idea yet, but you will see the attack. Based on that pawn there, I'm able to exploit something. And we'll look at that in just a minute here. I decided to develop my knight, get it in a good position here. So I'm taking away some of the moves they have and putting some pressure on them. They're going to want to attack that piece where that's going to be a higher priority in their AI thinking, which can be good because you want them on the defensive. If you want to have a chance, you don't want them playing offense. If they're playing offense, you're pretty much toast. So they develop... Moving the castle there is actually good for me. But okay, so I just developed the queen here. What I decided to do is not commit the king to either side. Typically, I like to castle and overload, but they haven't committed their king. If they committed their king to one side, I might castle to the other side and try to overload with the rooks. So, okay, they finally take that piece right there. And this, right here, my next move is to simply just capture with the pawn on b3 and then kind of leave it open. So we captured the pawn there. And I'm leaving some other... There's a lot of open trade-offs here. I'm trying not to get involved in taking them unless I can... Basically, I only want to do that if I can improve my position or find a line of attack where I can overload, and it's very difficult to do that against them here. So they move the bishop forward, which is kind of overloading, trying to remove the knight I have on e5. But I think I see an opportunity here. There's a lot of pieces they have on the right side of the board, but if they castle, that means we could try to overload and attack that position at all cost. This was a tough move for me, really. Just playing the bishop, I was just trying to. It's a developmental move. It's not a strong move, but trying to give the bishop more options, and potentially later on, this actually ends up helping. They go ahead and they castle with move number 12, and this is the big move right here. This is the big move that sets everything in motion. I decide to play, as you can see on the board, a pawn right there. Just push the pawn forward. Obviously, they're going to move the bishop back. The good thing about this is I can attack the position, and they're not going to want to trade off their bishop here. They're not going to want to give that bishop up, which is good. I mean, it's the strongest move I found so far, and this is the difference in the game. They're not going to want to give the bishop up, which means I can push the pawn forward. They're just going to play the bishop back, right? Well, that means I can push the pawn forward there, and they can go either way. They can capture. They're probably going to capture with the knight, which they end up doing. So they capture with the knight right there, and that's kind of what I want, because then I can trade off. I can take the bishop, take it out. Now we can attack this position right here. I could bring a queen there. I can bring a rook there. I could potentially bring two rooks, though. You notice the bishop on b2. That's not good for my position with my king, but there's a lot of stuff that I can do there. If I could potentially bring another knight there. I have the bad bishop on b2, obviously. It's a bad bishop, but I could, potentially bring some rooks and stuff. If I could attack this position, the king's in a short spot, maybe I can get the W here. So, okay, they capture with a pawn, fine enough. I'm going to bring the queen here. That move threatens a lot of things. They decide to capture, just capture right there with a pawn. I'm not going to go for that. I'm not going to go for piece value. I'm playing for position. I'm playing to win the game. So, I mean, that's a mistake that when I started out, I would probably, okay, we'll trade off pieces, and try to grind them down and get to the end. Well, against, computer level 12 or ELO 2100, I ain't grinding them down. That's not going to happen. So this move right here, I think a big mistake I would make when I started out playing is that I'd either capture with the knight on e5 or the queen on e2. No, you don't want to give up. When you've got them, when you're attacking the position of the king right here, and they don't have a lot of moves left, you want to get that down to mate and 4, mate and 5, mate and 6, or whatever. You want to attack that position. So we're going to play queen takes right there. We're going to play queen takes h5. Okay. Now they're scrambling, and what they decide to do is launch a counterattack, putting the queen, threatening the bad bishop I said on b2 again. So I decided to, instead of castling or whatever, because I can get, if I castle to this side, let's say I were to castle to this side, I get two rooks on the right side of the board, and I have a king here. My king can be in trouble because I've only got one piece defending this bishop. So my best move here is pretty much to just play rook a1 to b1 right there and defend it, because I don't want them overloading and putting pressure. I want to get pressure on their king and end it here. So they move the queen forward, which is actually good for me because, yes, it puts a pan on my king, but it's not really doing anything. I've got the knight protected. I've got the bishop protected. They could bring in another piece to overload, but that's not going to happen. So what I do next is play rook to h1, g1, and that's where the computer resigns. Because I pretty much, there's not a lot of different options there. They can't really take the pawn on f7 and move it forward to f6, because then I can move the knight forward and get a mating pattern there. So there's not really... Yeah, that's where they resign. So pretty exciting. This is my first win where I got them to resign. So yeah, pretty exciting there. So that's an example of how you would attack a position and break it apart. It's a very, very thin, very, very tight game, but hopefully I was able to give you a good example there. I'm pretty excited, obviously. And I'd like to thank you for watching. If you have any comments or ideas, go ahead. Thanks for watching and good luck.